Hello everyone, this is Mr.Huggles with another tutorial for how to mod Dragon's Dogma. In this episode, I'll be going over world difficulty, what it is, what it does for our game, and how to install it. If you're coming here looking for help on how to mod Dragon's Dogma, please see my other video as that will cover things a bit more in depth. In this one, we will be simply covering the essentials for how to get world difficulty installed. Um, with that out of the way, let us begin with a little overview on the mod itself. World difficulty will change your game in a number of ways, most notably your encounters. World difficulty itself will replace the encounters that you will find on the overworld map with some new and exciting fights. These will often include enemies that are found either late game or perhaps even in Bitter Black Isle. There are also some enemies that are brand new to the game itself, modded and created specifically by Lafine herself. There are going to be changes to enemy AI. There are going to be changes to your pawn's AI. Both will become notably more aggressive. That will obviously help the pawns more so, since they are going to be a bit more aggressive. They'll be able to keep up with the new flow of battle. With this new level of aggression, the player will need to use a bit more wit and cunning when it comes to battles. They'll need to be more resourceful than simply mashing the attack button or spamming their skills. They'll need to consider team composition as well as the overall layout of the environment and anything that they might be able to use to their advantage. There are different flavors of world difficulty. In this episode, we'll be going over all of them, but for the sake and purpose of installation, we'll be looking over the initial release, otherwise known as version 1.5. Now, before we get going with the install, there are some tools we will need before we can start installing. The first of these are, well, both these are actually going to come from Fluffy Quack himself. Head on over to fluffyquack.com and migrate over to the modding tab. Click on that and it will take you straight to his modding page. We are going to be grabbing his Fluffy Manager 5000. This is technically not necessary to install world difficulty, but it will help if you ever want to uninstall or reinstall at a later date. Go ahead and download that. And what is essential is going to be his archive tool. Now, there is not a download link specifically from his website, but if you click the More Info button, it will redirect you to Resident Evil modding community, where he originally posted his tool. This is a tool that is used for a variety of Capcom games, from Resident Evil to Devil May Cry and, of course, Dragon's Dogma. So you'll be finding it in a couple of locations, usually Resident Evil forums. Go ahead and click his very first link here. The download link is for the tool itself. And along with that, you're going to need the PC batch files link. There are batch files for use with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. If you're trying to mod, for whatever reason, Dragon's Dogma or a Resident Evil game off of disk, if you manage to get an ISO backup. But for the sakes of world difficulty on PC, we are just going to need the PC batch files. Your download will include batch files for every game that this tool is compatible with. Go ahead and only grab the one called pc-dd.bat. You'll see that later on in this video when I show you mine, as we will be editing that file itself before we begin modding. In fact, before actually going to the mod page, let's get our new downloads set up. We are going to want to create a few staging locations. Specifically, we would like to create a location for Fluffy Manager 5000 to live happily on our computer. For me, I have created a folder for all of my mod managers, including Fluffy Manager. Go ahead and create that folder, and inside of it, drag and drop or unpack your Fluffy Manager download. Initially, you will not have all of these folders and files. These will be created as the manager runs for the first time, as well as after you direct it at whatever game you are wanting to manage mods for. Once it has detected Dragon's Dogma, it will create a DD folder inside of a games folder, and inside there will be where you put all of your mod stuff. Let's just go into the mods folder and leave it there for now. And in fact, I will move this to the top corner. Now, aside from a mod manager folder, we are going to need one more folder, something for the archive tool. Now, I have gone ahead and I have an entire tools folder for stuff related to Dragon's Dogma and other stuff. You can just create an archive tool folder anywhere you like on your computer. You do not need as many quote-unquote operation rooms as I have here. I simply like to have enough rooms to dissect as many archives as I might need. It can come in handy if you like to mod your game. Really, though, you only need one of these, at least for world difficulty. In fact, inside your first operation room, or at least for mine, I will have my archive tool, as well should you, and I will have my PC batch file. BAT is short for batch. This is actually the one you're going to need to grab out of that group you download from Resident Evil forums. Now, before we can actually go ahead and use this, we are going to need to modify it for use later. If you have Notepad++, go ahead and use that to open it. If you do not have Notepad++, do not fret. World difficulty, no. Windows 10 should come pre-installed with the regular Notepad. You can use regular Notepad or Notepad++ to open this. It doesn't matter. You will probably need to just hit right-click and select Open With. I don't quite see the option in here, but you can certainly set it up to be opened with it by other means. Notepad++ is my recommendation, though, if you would like some extra features within your Notepad tool. Now, with the way that the bat file comes default, it will not have the -XFS extension. That is something that we are going to need to add. Anywhere between the DD and I believe the -V, go ahead and type in -XFX. That is going to allow us to gain access to more files when we extract archives later on, and we will need that for installing key features of world difficulty. Once you have -XFS, or yeah, XFS, God, my eyes are failing me. I'm too old or too young. Can't tell now. Once you have that added, go ahead and save and close it out. Now your archive tool is ready for use later, and you have a folder for your world difficulty mod to be installed with. In fact, let's go ahead and create a folder within Fluffy Manager. This will need to go inside the mods folder for Dragon's Dogma within the tool itself. Don't worry if you don't have a folder for D-Input or custom mod pack. Those are ones I've already made for myself. But let's create a folder and call it world difficulty. Great. Now that is all set up and ready for when we install the mod. Now, moving on over to the mod's actual page. From the description, you'll have a plethora of helpful videos highlighting the mod, showing what it is like and what it can do. You'll also have a lot of information going over details regarding the levels that you might want to be at when you use the mod, and so forth. Some of this is, quote unquote, I guess you could say technical, but it's a lot of information, and it can be very overwhelming when, at least, seeing it for the very first time. If you'd like, go ahead and read it. You probably don't need to, though, because you're watching this video. So let's move on to the Files tab. Give me a second. All right. Now, with the Files tab, you will have a main file, some updates, some optionals, and some miscellaneous. We are only here for the main file, the updates, and one optional. Everything else we can ignore. Miscellaneous has a bunch of New Game Plus beta files that were around. The New Game Plus is essentially the 2.0 version of this, and we'll be going over where to get that later. GOG is irrelevant because, we're not going to be playing this on GOG. In fact, I know very few people that do. So we will not need this, as we're most likely playing on Steam. In fact, that is what I'm installing it for. Now, to start with, our downloads, the very first one we are going to want to grab is the main download. This is a huge, huge, huge download. I cannot understate that. This is large. In fact, if you preview the files, you will see everything that it is going to install into your game. These are going to be files for the overworld map involving the spawns and spawn conditions. This is going to have everything pertaining to the enemies and their stats and their abilities, which I should note, some enemies now have new abilities, so keep an eye out for that. Have fun. They do not all behave the same anymore. Wow, yeah, there's just so much in here. That download, depending on your internet connection, whether or not it's going to a hard drive or a SSD, it's going to factor in how quickly this can download. For most people, I would imagine this takes anywhere from 30 to potentially 60 minutes to download. Good God, it will take a long time. I'm sorry, it is unavoidable. Download this, go make some coffee, go cook dinner, do whatever it is. Just know it's going to take a while. Download it, and move on. Once that's downloaded, or maybe while it is downloading, take a look at the update files page. Most of these are going to be bug fixes for the 1.5 version, which is what we download with the main file. Some of these are not necessarily bug fixes, but just alternations. I can't say this anymore. They're alternate versions for some of the features or enemies within the game, or the mod, I should say. For instance, the Saurians originally were all black. They were kind of like an oily color. Was really helpful for trying to see if the mod was working. This is going to give them kind of a green and black shimmer, which is also pretty cool looking. Goblins, they had a bug involving skewer and grapples, so go ahead and grab that to fix the bug. We're going to need to change how much EXP it takes to level up, so go ahead and grab this. We got to get some bug fixes for the whites because they had some problems initially, and same goes for the wolves. Now, you might be wondering about the EXP, since I mentioned we're going to want to change how much it takes to gain a level. Because this mod changes the enemy stats, notably making them more difficult and stronger, that is tied in with how much EXP the game rewards the player with. This is unavoidable, and there's no way around it. If you're using a mod, enemies will give ungodly amounts of experience. That's really cool if you'd like to level up quickly. However, most people are not going to want to reach level 200 by the time they reach Grand Sword. That's probably not actually going to happen, but you never know. So what we need is to install this mod that will increase the amount of experience points required to level up, essentially. That'll be a fun one to install later. It's the only tricky install required with this mod itself. Aside from that, go down to the optionals. You don't necessarily need this, but it is fun. At least I think it is fun. During the alpha or beta of 1.0, I guess it would be more the beta, there was a little fun challenge, an optional encounter you could trigger on your way to the Blue Moon Tower. If you would like to mess around and play with that, go ahead and download the Blue Moon Pathway update. So if you're using that, download it. If not, you can ignore it and just stick with the updates page. That is everything. We need nothing more from her Nexus Mods page. Now, I have gone ahead and already downloaded everything. In fact, let me put this in the top corner there. I've also put it into a folder so we know what categories these came with. The main download is going to be a large archive. This will take, again, some time to extract, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depends on the speed of your computer. Once you get this extracted, you're going to be left with the native PC folder, which will contain ROM, some enemy and stage data. It's got everything. It is ready for dragging and dropping. And what we are going to do is add it to this world difficulty folder for Fluffy Manager that we created earlier. Open that folder, and no, don't open it. Drag and drop. Or copy paste. You could do that too, just in case you mess something up. After that, we are going to want to get our updates ready. We're going to extract those here. All right, that's the first one. Now for the second one, extract here. Extract here. And extract here. Now, all of these contained native PC folder, but all of them contained a different enemy file inside of it. So you'll see enemy, and then you're going to see some different enemy files. So extracting all of them in the same location essentially merged it. And now we can simply drag and drop this. Go ahead and hit replace all. Now, I probably should have mentioned it earlier, but now is as good a time as ever. When you are dragging and dropping or installing the mod packages or modules, you're going to want to install the main download first. If you were to install any of the optionals or the update first, and then you drag and drop the main download afterwards, that main download is going to overwrite everything else. That means it's going to reintroduce all of those bug fixes. It's going to undo your optional download. So what we need is to install this main file first before everything else. Think of it kind of like a layer cake. Your main download is the bottom layer, and all of your updates and your optional stuff, that's all the extra layers that go on top of it. If you were to do that in reverse, your layer cake would suddenly become an upside down cake, which is also tasty. I need to make one of those soon. Anyways, I digress. We got our optional stuff. I believe I did drag and drop the updates. So let's go ahead and let's install this Blue Moon packet. Zip, extract here. Now the Blue Moon package will actually have a named folder. Go inside that. That's where your native PC folder is. It's going to have everything else inside of it that we need. So just drag and drop this native PC folder. Replace, and there we go. World difficulty is all set up. We can go ahead and launch Fluffy Quack 5000 or whatever it's called. But if you remember, we had a download for alternate experience gains. That is going to require some work. And just as a, I guess, side note, I'm going to create another folder for that. Instead of installing it directly on top of our world difficulty installation, I'm going to set it up so that Fluffy Manager will be able to toggle the experience requirements on and off in case we ever decide we want to turn it off but still play with world difficulty, or turn off world difficulty but still have the higher experience requirements in a normal game. It can be really interesting if you play that. Really, really challenging if you want to play normal mode, Dragon's Dogma, and take forever to gain a level. It can make things a bit more challenging, and it can sometimes feel a bit more fair since you're not gaining ungodly levels before you even reach the dragon. Now, if we are going to install this mod, obviously extract it first, but you'll see that it is packaged differently than all the others. Unlike the others, this does not have a native PC folder. It instead has game main, and inside of it is going to be, well, the EXP files. This PL EXP this XML, this TXT, none of this will be found if you are using a standard PC bat file with the ARC tool. You can only get those if you are extracting the game's archive with the addition of the XFS line that we added earlier. So that's why we had to edit our BAT file so that we can get at these files within the game's actual install. Of course, so we have to find that. So let's head on over to the game's install location. If you aren't familiar with this, it is going to be in your Steam library. My Steam library is on a separate drive than the actual Steam install. But if you're trying to find the Steam library, you would just go into the Steam folder on your C drive or wherever you have it installed, and the Steam library would be inside the Steam folder. So go into Steam library, which I think inside the Steam folder, it's just called library. It's not Steam library. But go into the library, select Steam apps, common, and look for DDDA. That is our game. And in here, we are going to look for the native PC folder. If you don't see, dinput log, ini, or DLL, don't worry. That is just from one of the other mods I have installed. Perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal to not see those if you aren't using that tool. But we're going to go into the native PC folder. We're then going to go inside this ROM folder, and we're going to scroll to the bottom and find the game main archive. We're going to copy that, and we're going to paste it into our little operation room with the archive tool. And where's my downloads? There we go. EXP, game main. Yep. All right. So now that we've got this archive over here with our archive tool and our bat file, we're going to drag and drop that onto our modified bat file. Wait for the command prompt to finish scrolling through everything. This can take a little bit of time. It's got a lot of stuff that it needs to unpack. There we go. Now, once that is finished, you will be left with a folder by the same name as the archive. Go inside that folder and you'll see a bunch of stuff. This is everything that was actually inside that little archive. A ton of information. Luckily, Lafine, like usual, is a darling and packaged stuff correctly so that we can simply drag and drop. So let's do that. And let's replace those 3 files. There we go. Almost done. Now, let's make sure that we drag and drop this game main folder, not the archive, the folder. And we're going to drag and drop it right back onto the bat file. Give it a second or two so that it can finish compressing everything. And now we have an altered game main archive. We're going to place that inside the EXP mod folder that we created. And now we have a new mod ready to be toggled on and off. Oh, wait. Duh. I forgot a few extra things, though. Native PC. We're going to place this... come on. Drag and drop. There we go. ROM. There we go. And now it's all set. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun on that one a little bit. Now, you could have, if you wanted to, put that in to the world difficulty native PC ROM folder. Just drop it right here if you want to turn it on and off with the mod at the same time. But in my preference, I like to turn it on separately, just for that strangeness that you can get when you're playing through the normal game with higher EXP requirements or whatnot. Well, we don't need this anymore, and we don't need this anymore. Now that our mod is all set up, we are going to need to launch Fluffy Manager. So go ahead and click on the exe. And if this is not your first time launching, then you'll probably already have it pointed at Dragon's Dogma. If it is your first time, you'll need to go through the options and I forget which one of these we need to point it at, but you can direct it at detecting a very specific game, such as Dragon's Dogma. And once it has located Dragon's Dogma, that's when it creates your games folder and the DB folder and all that stuff that we just put things into. But let's go ahead and turn on these mods. You'll see a little tick box. Just go ahead and click it, and it just installed it for me. If that's your first time turning on a mod with the tool, it'll not only install the mod, but it will create a backup for you. So now we could just turn it off, and it restores the original game files. Turn it on, and it replaces the original game file with the mod, and so forth. You just do it endlessly as much as we want. World difficulty, however, it's got a lot of files, so prepare for a wait. This can take a bit of time. There are 900 or so files that it is replacing. In fact, it's lagging just because it is trying to analyze everything. There we go, just toggled, and look at it go. There we go, 973 files. Fluffy Manager is off to the races. It is pulling ahead in the lead. 3 more times. Oh, it just passed. She's the fastest. She's the fastest. Fallen into second. Fluffy Manager leading by a mile. She's the fastest in second. He is falling behind again in third. What a name for that horse. Oh my goodness. Fluffy Manager is starting to look a little tired, slowing down. She's the fastest, catching up, but wait. Coming up behind. Oh my god, Fluffy Manager has managed to eke out a lead yet again. He is approaching the finish line and done. Fluffy Manager has installed world difficulty for us. If you have also not installed this yet using Fluffy Manager, you will have a bit more than 900 files. You will have a little over 1,000 files. That is Fluffy Manager keeping track of all the backups it is trying to make. Once it has made those necessary backups for the original game files, you won't need to do that again. So it will be quicker every time that you want to install or uninstall. I will not check this again for a little bit just because that will take a while. I don't want to wait that much time again to uninstall this, but if you ever did, it will take probably as much time just to uninstall. But it's definitely easier this way. Trust me. Let Fluffy Manager handle your backups. Much easier. But with everything installed, let's go ahead and launch the game. All right. Here we go with Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Modified with the world difficulty and some new experience requirements. Okay, now here we are just outside of Grand Soren's southern entrance. I believe some refer to it more as the east entrance. Just a little ways down the road would be a batch of islands and some beachfront with some normal saurians. Here we have, well, there's a white saurian sage walking out into the water, but you'll see some greenish looking saurians down there on the beach. That is our texture at work. That is the recolor for those black saurians I was talking about. And of course, that saurian sage way out there is quite a handful also if you manage to aggro him. These saurians are not going to be that much of a problem for me since my character is level 200. But you'll notice that once they die, they give an unusually large amount of EXP. Almost 3,000 EXP for a single one. Rylisa gained quite a number of levels from that since she is very low level. I played through this without having her at a high level. In fact, okay, she leveled all the way up to level 20 on that one. But you'll see at level 20, the game now requires her to have over 47,000 experience. That's a bit high. That is good, though. If it wasn't for our EXP mod, well, she might potentially be up to level 30-something, maybe 40-something, excuse me. Did not mean to burp there. But yeah, this is a good way to test if your mod is working. Another alternate way, if you were at the start of the game, would be to go into the well at Cassidy, and inside the well would obviously be Saurians for one of the early missions. And if you see the Saurians looking this kind of greenish black color, know that the mod is definitely working. You'll find some really interesting encounters in the world now that the mod is installed. Somewhere in this world, you might even find a creature that Lafine has put a little bounty on. I do not know if anyone has ever found it. I have not seen reports of people having found this. But keep a lookout for something she likes to refer to as the Rabbit. I have no idea if it has special spawn requirements or if there's a unique location for it other than a typical rabbit horde like you might find outside of the starting town or inside the Witchwood. She has hidden all sorts of weird new creatures like that throughout the world, as well as alternate versions of existing creatures. Some of these will have, they'll just be out in the wild, and others will have very special very special triggering conditions to make them spawn in. I will not be going over any of that. That will be up to you to discover for yourself. It will be a joy, to say the least. Now let's go over some alternate versions with world difficulty. Or actually, before that, let us close out of game. I want to go over one quick thing before going over some of the alternate versions. When it comes to world difficulty, if you would like what I would like to call world difficulty easy mode or world difficulty light, there is a way to install this mod partially so that you have different enemy spawns, but they have normal stats so that they aren't incredibly difficult to actually defeat. They'll still be difficult because you'll be fighting things like grim goblins in locations where you probably shouldn't be encountering them way before you should be encountering them. You might be fighting some other creatures from Bitter Black Isle randomly out on the surface world. If you would like to just experience that aspect of the mod without having to deal with the potential hair pulling that the extra high stats and the alternate attack types are going to be introducing, then feel free to do what I'm about to show you. Now, with our world difficulty install, you might want to let's make a new folder. I can't spell suddenly. Yeah, world difficulty light. Let's go into our world difficulty folder. Native PC. Actually, yeah, let's just copy our native PC folder and put it into world difficulty. Ooh, that is going to take maybe not as much time as I thought. Essentially, though, what we are going to do is we are going to delete some stuff. What we are going to be doing, in fact, yeah, I'll just cancel that. That's going to take too much time. Let's just alter this original one. If you want to create a easier version of world difficulty, new enemy spawns only, feel free to delete the enemy folder. Stage and stage 100 and everything in that is going to have your spawn locations and spawn conditions. Enemy is going to have the actual new enemy statistics, so their abilities, adjustments to their AI, and so forth. There's also an extra little file in here if you would like to make the skeletons a little bit weaker, since some people do tend to have difficulty with the skeletons when you first go into the Everfall. They can be a little challenging, a little more challenging than what you might be expecting if you're playing this from the very start of the game. But if you want just the new spawns and nothing else, you could just delete the enemy folder here and leave the stage folder, and you will have, again, kind of an easier version of world difficulty. It'll have all the flavor minus the alternate enemy AI. That out of the way, though, let's go over some alternate versions for world difficulty, as well as one caveat I forgot to mention about installing world difficulty itself. If you are starting a brand new save, um, you need to make sure that world difficulty isn't installed, or in this case, is not activated until after you have defeated the Cyclops at the encampment at the very beginning of the game. World difficulty will make that Cyclops so much more powerful that you will not be able to damage him enough to kill him. You are welcome to try, as I have, as others have. But with the starting stats and equipment available to you from the start of the game, you will not be able to defeat that Cyclops. So make sure world difficulty is installed after you have defeated it. Once that Cyclops is dead, feel free to activate world difficulty and have fun with a very interesting play experience. That out of the way, let us talk about some of the alternate versions for world difficulty. What we have just installed is version 1.5. That version is probably the most friendly to new players, or at least new users of the mod. It is recommended for players level 60 or less, so pretty good if you want to do a brand new save and play through the game that way. If you're someone that's already beaten the game, version 1.5 might not be all that difficult to you. You might have some extremely powerful weapons or equipment from Bitter Black Isle. That tends to kind of stomp all over the enemies from version 1.5. Version 1.5 can still be fun if you are just wanting a different experience on a New Game Plus playthrough. Especially if you haven't actually done all of your quests, so you might not actually be all that high level if you just ran through the main story and skipped a lot of the questing. Since version 1.5 is really only geared for players up to level 60, you might want to try version 2.0, which is recommended for players level 60 and higher. You could almost think about it, or at least I tend to think of it, as a proper New Game Plus version of the mod. In fact, I think Lafine even marketed it as such. Those New Game Plus test files or betas that we saw in the miscellaneous section for her mod page, those are rolled into version 2.0, if I remember correctly. If you are interested in downloading version 2.0, you will need to head over to her Discord page. In her mod subscription page, if you scroll near the bottom, let's see if I can locate it here. Yes, here we go. She has a tech support Discord group. And this is really good if you are looking for a little guidance with the mod itself. Maybe you think you messed something up during the install, or just need a little more help than what you're finding with this video. Go ahead and click this. It is a hyperlink that will open up either the web browser version or your desktop app version for her mod shop. Let's see if I can get in here. Username Huggles. There we go. Oh, right, because I'm creating like a new account. Yeah, let's see here. I am born in the year 1872. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to go through everything, I guess. Okay, so let's see everything. So in her group, there's a lot of stuff in here. Her link takes everyone directly to the tech support page, which is really nice. I guess I'm not going to be able to get rid of that unless I enter an email. So if you have questions, you can easily just type into the tech support channel. In fact, here's Madeline, or Lafine herself. Madeline is the one who created it. She goes by the name Lafine on the mod page. Um, really nice person there. There is a lot of stuff you'll be needing to go over in here. If you would like access to version 2.0, let me see if I can even find something. There it is, FAQ. Obviously, you're going to probably want to read, I believe somewhere in here she does have a rules list. In fact, actually, I can't remember where she's got the rules. She does have a rules list in here. Let it be known in general, though, just treat everyone with respect. I wish it wasn't necessary to say that or be listed in rules somewhere, but be excellent to each other. That's really all we need. That and love. But I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. Um, but yeah, you're going to be in the FAQ section here. Read through a lot of this. It will explain a lot of things. Somewhere in here, I believe, though, is going to be the pertinent info for you if you're interested in for access to version 2.0. Version 2.0 has been, I guess you would say, locked off to people unless they ask for permission to use it. It is essentially a way to help ease the stress that Lafine is or has been under in the past. Originally, 2.0 was up on the Nexus page, but a lot of people downloaded it not knowing that it was geared for higher leveled players. That resulted in a lot of complaining and a lot of unnecessary questions. So it has since been moved to her Discord group, and to make sure that people downloading it are aware that it requires, or not requires, but is geared towards higher level players, uh, they have to request a role. And I believe the information for requesting that role is somewhere here in the FAQ section. If you do not see it here, you may have to ask around in the gate and like ask one of the moderators, like Hazmat or Ray. But it should be in the FAQ section if memory serves me correctly. Um, the Essentially once you have that role, you're going to have another set of pages or a page that pops back up down at the bottom. It will be a group that is hidden to everyone that does not have that permission for using version 2.0. Once you get to that permission, you can download it to your heart's content. Installing it is going to be the exact same as with version 1.5. There is nothing different about it, other than the fact that the enemy stats are going to be stronger. There might be some different encounters. I don't think so, though. It should be the same encounters, with the alternate encounters simply being different on the overworld map, which I probably should have mentioned earlier. Version 1.5 and should be with 2.0. The new encounters are only on the overworld map. They are not in any dungeons like Bitterblack Isle or the Catacombs. All of those are essentially untouched with the encounters, other than the fact that the enemies will likely have higher stats and maybe some different moves. But the encounters that you will find will still be the same. Now, if you would like something more, something that 2.0 isn't quite doing for you, maybe you want more challenge. Since obviously, if you were to gear up to level 200 and you've got all Dragon Forge or Gold Rarefied weapons, you might be finding 2.0 still being too easy. Lafine is currently working on version 3.0. It is intended for players that are already at level 200 and already with exceptionally good gear loadouts. Never mind exceptionally skilled in play overall. 3.0, I have no idea how long it will take to reach conclusion. Lafine is someone that is generally very busy all the time, and she does have quite a handful in her schedule outside of requirements for developing the mod and keeping track of Discord. She is also trying to help keep a friend's family afloat and off the street. If you are interested in 3.0, she has the alpha or beta. I'm not sure what you would refer to it. She refers to it as, I think, alpha. Um, you'll need to pledge. I believe it's with the $5 a month tier or higher on her Patreon. This is to ensure help for her friend that is in need, and it's also a way to sort of, I guess you would say, show the mod author that you actually care about her mod. Most mod authors do not ask for donations, despite the amount of work that actually does go into them. World difficulty is something that has taken years to reach the point that it has, and is very much deserving of some amount of donation if you are able to. That is why if you're on her Nexus page and you're downloading, you'll see a little pop-up prompt asking if you would like to donate to help contribute to future endeavors with furthering the mod. And if you would like early access to her 3.0 version, you can get that through donating on her Patreon page. Now, something that is really nice, and I am certainly not the only one looking forward to this, 3.0 is also going to be experimenting with altering the spawn locations within Bitter Black Isle itself. So if you would love a taste of that as it becomes available, subscribe to her Patreon. $5 isn't necessarily a lot of money. I do know some people, myself included, can't necessarily afford that. But for those of you that can, if you would like to donate, it might be more beneficial to you to subscribe to her Patreon for something as little as $5 a month, so that you have access to this newer version as it comes out if you would love. With that out of the way, that is just about everything involving the mod that I can think about. One quick tidbit, I guess, to make mention. In the past, with Madeline's Discord group, there seems to have maybe been a bug. I do not know if this has been fixed or not. But to help protect against trolls that might enter the group, leave a bunch of spam, and then quickly leave, she does have a bot to help cut down on that by by banning people that would come and go really quickly. Unfortunately, several months ago at least, after leaving, my account did get banned after having been in her group for a month or two already. I have no idea if that's actually fixed or not at this point, but if you would like to just play it safe, just stay in her group. You might just one day forget that this video exists and come here looking for some help on how to get it installed if you ever uninstall, or if you need any other tech support. This group is pretty good to have on hand in general if you are needing help with this mod. Some people are going to maybe have advice on how to handle certain encounters as well. So go ahead and stay in this group. It is much better than perhaps risking not being able to re-enter at a later date if you realize you actually do need to come back for help. That being said, I hope you enjoy World Difficulty. I hope you enjoy this mod, and very much have fun. Remember, be excellent to each other, and have a great day.